I've noticed that Games Workshop is suffering a lot of PR damage, especially on social media. It's losing a lot of its prestige and reputation. It's being called out by the fans. And here you have an individual trying to explain why that is. And the explanation seems to be batshit insane, but I don't really blame them. Because I do think that Games Workshop is now a walking mental asylum. And so if you try to understand the inner workings of the mind of a person that's insane, well, it's going to end up with insanity, right? And so this individual, Studio One Games, says that Warhammer 40k is changing, but I don't think it's changing for the reason people think. A lot of people believe it's changing because of certain political agendas becoming more mainstream. But I don't think so. Said agendas are actually on their way out currently. The real reason why I think Warhammer is changing is because, being completely honest with you, I believe Games Workshop is disgusted by its current fan base. And that's not me saying that you guys are in the wrong. That's what I believe Games Workshop thinks. They think that the current fan base is holding them back. Back from maximizing profits because there's a certain stigma around the Warhammer as a fan base. And here you have, like, the actual problem with what's happening in the Western entertainment industry. If you are making entertainment, it's not like you're making cars. It's not like you're building houses. You're actually making art. And art is completely a separate industry from the manufacturing industry. And so if you're making art with the purpose of maximizing profits, you're already going to fail. Because we know how successful art is made. Like, we have examples from the past. And usually, when you see something successful, like Attack on Titan, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the initial project was done with passion and with human soul. Like, of course, George Lucas wanted to make money. Of course, Blizzard wanted to make money when they created Warcraft. Of course, all of the people that worked on Lord of the Rings, the movie, they wanted to make money. But they also wanted to make a masterpiece. Like, that was their end goal. It's like they targeted an audience. Like, for instance, for Lord of the Rings, they targeted people who like fantasy. And they did their best in order to create the type of product that they themselves would want to see. Meanwhile, if you look at how Disney does things now, is they get a focus room, and they're basically creating art by committee. They then create art by bureaucracy. It's like, what are we allowed to show, what we aren't. And then they're thinking about tapping in the wider audience. And the wider audience, they they don't want to be offended, right? So, like, you can't have grim dark. You can't have edgy stuff. You can't have sexy stuff, right? Because it has to appeal to the 75-year-old grandma, and it also has to appeal for the 16-year-old teenager. And once you realize this, you also realize that it's almost impossible to create something that both people will like with a passion. Like, you may end up creating something that, is watchable, and people just go in there, and it's like a popcorn flick, but they're not going to be enthusiastic about it. They're not going to go out of their way to buy merchandise about it. They're not going to go out of their way to tell other people, hey, this thing came out, you should try it. And this is what's happening with the entertainment industry in the West right now. And the reason that they are thinking like this, and I genuinely believe that this guy is assessing the problem, it's like, yes, they're disgusted with the current audience, is because they take the current audience for granted. Like, they look at the current audience that probably spent $5,000, $6,000 on the figurines, and they're thinking, well, they're going to stick with us no matter what, because they have the sunken cost fallacy. And so they change the entire product. They change the entire thing. They hire community managers that treat the previous fan base with disgust, because they're thinking, it's like, well, they're like addicts. Like, they will always follow us. And the problem is that reality showed that it's not really how it works. Like, the previous audience, yeah, sure, they're going to follow you for 1 year, maybe 2 years. They're going to give you an extra chance. But if they actually see that the product is no longer the product that they like, eventually they're going to leave. And so the idea of tapping into the wider audience doesn't work, because if I see how you treated your previous fans, if I see how you're spitting and you're disgusted by the people that actually spent money and invested their time in order to get you where you are, I have to wonder, like, why would I want to be part of that? Why would I want to be part of a company that's now looking with disgust and disdain towards the people that built it and helped it get to the point where it's at? But here's the interesting thing, right? Like, they say that they want to rid themselves of their previous fan base because they fear that that fan base is holding them back from reaching not a modern audience, but a broader audience. Attracted to it, it's more sci-fi and less grim dark. More like Star Wars and less dystopia. The disproportionate bodies of the firstborn Astartes fix their anatomy with the Primaris. To be fair, I like this change and I blame the Astartes for it happening. The higher pricing. Well, if Warhammer was at some point your life and your job, you can't afford it anymore now. I believe that Games Workshop worries on its own fan base is not entirely without merit, but they are discarding everyone of that old fan base. Every last innocent individual who once enjoyed Warhammer seems to be lumped in the same group when they're trying to throw out the grimdark and move closer to standard sci-fi. I don't think this is a political move. I believe it's purely out of pursuit of profit. Yeah, again, like, the problem with doing this is that Warhammer loses its identity. It loses its soul. Like, the reason people like Star Wars is because of the lightsabers, the Force, the Jedi philosophy, right? Like, it sets it apart from something like Battlestar Galactica, which is all about humans dealing with human problems while they're running an exodus from the Cylons. And so, like, every single successful sci-fi franchise, like, it has its soul, it has its thing. Warhammer 40K's soul was grimdark. And so, if you get rid of grimdark and you just become bland, you just become, like, the slop of sci-fi. It's like, well, there's spaceships and there's some aliens. It's like, okay, well, what sets it apart from StarCraft then? And if the answer is nothing, then why would people trust you? You're showing that you have no creative talent. You're showing that you don't know your own franchise. And you're showing that you're trying to become something you're not. And what's interesting is that if you really want to discard your entire player base, just make a spin-off. You know, just make Warhammer 20K. Or make Warhammer 60K. And have that be like StarCraft. But the reality is, like, you want to use the people that are into the grimdark thing, that have carried your product all the way up until now. So, like, you are disgusted with them, but you still want to use them. You still want to build them for cash. And people notice that they're being used. It's like, well, hold on a little bit. Like, they're taking something that I grew up with. They're taking an IP that I love, and they're changing it into something I hate, but they need my money to make that change. And people notice this at a subconscious level, and this is why Games Workshop now has bad PR, and this is why a lot of people are tuning out. Now, another thing, you know, I've seen a lot of people on Facebook thinking that the reason they don't like the old fans is because a lot of the people working at Games Workshop are woke, and they don't want to deal with racists and bigots. Here's my take on this, because I've been on the internet for quite a while, and I think I can have an honest conversation about it. Both the forums that are racist and fascist, as well as the forums that are woke, are incredibly authoritarian. Like, they do not allow for dissenting opinions. If you go there and you disagree with the hive mind, you immediately get banned. But there is a difference, though. People who are racist or fascist, they know how to turn it off. Like, when interacting with other people, they know how to pretend to be human. Like, have you guys noticed that, right? Like, you got a racist bigot. And all of a sudden, you drag him on a different Discord server. And, you know, like, people talk about something else. He knows how to hide his power level. Like, he's not going to chimp out. Woke people, on the other hand, they don't know how to hide their power level. Like, if you take them on a different place, they immediately cause problems. They immediately flip the board. They immediately spurg out. Like, they don't know how to behave in a different environment. And so, a lot of people have noticed this because we had 10 years of interacting with each other. And the original PR that woke people are compassionate and empathetic and they're the soul of the party, well, it turns out that's not the case. It turns out that being in a woke environment is incredibly stressful for normal people. You have to always walk on eggshells. You need to make sure that you're not upsetting everyone. You need to make sure that you're up to date with the latest buzzwords and whatever opinions they have so you don't contradict any. And that's incredibly stressful, right? And so, like, when you take an individual like that and you put them in a different environment, like, let's say a tabletop game, and they immediately freak out and they want to control the space because they can't allow someone else to have fun in a different way, that's a killjoy. And so, like, a community that constantly surrounds itself with woke people has become a lot more toxic than a different toxic community that surrounds itself with racists. Because at the end of the day, you know, the racists, as I mentioned before, they can power down. They have no problem having a table where a communist sits. Like, they may engage in banter or shit, but, like, they're not going to go, oh, this guy that I'm playing with is a communist. I don't want to play with him. Right? Like, they will engage in banter. They will engage in other things. A woke person, if they find out that, oh, I'm sitting next to a guy that watches Andrew Tate, I'm not playing. Guys, how can we allow? Why are we allowing this? Why? Like, he instantly needs to assert dominance on the space. And so, if you are a company and you're trying to cater to these customers, I got bad news for you. Like, people are going to run away from your forums. People are going to refuse to buy your game because they're associating it with, like, okay, so if I play this game, like, the community is woke as fuck. We actually saw this happening with Trench Crusader. Like, Trench Crusader initially noticed a huge uprise in people being interested in the game. And then when the community manager showed their power level, immediately everyone just ran away. And so, yeah, I think, like, regarding Games Workshop, they're in the wrong. They're not going to be successful. If you make Warhammer 40k like Star Wars, it's going to lose its soul. And what you're going to end up is not attract new people. You're going to end up losing the ones you already have. But the assessment of Studio One games, yeah, I think it's kind of, I think this is why they're changing. I think that they're pretty much running the mental asylum, listening to wrong opinions about marketing, wrong opinions about cultural trends, and it's going to end up as a shit show. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.